Hello there, right, here we are. I believe this is week 9 in HPU land, and we're working on parts of week 5 from edX land. So main thing here really is help for homework 4, which is this behavior-driven development and test-driven development cycle. So previously, in homework 3, we were looking at Cucumber, I believe. Is that right? Actually, I'm going to have to go and remind myself about homework 3. Yes, so we were declaring scenarios for Cucumber. What did we do? What else did we do? Yes, and we were looking at happy paths and this, that, and the other. Right, yes, okay. So that was Cucumber. That was the behavior-driven design. Particularly, we had these scenarios which correspond to the use cases. Systems analysis. This is, we're sort of ultimately seeing it all linked up. I'll keep hitting on that in some of the main lectures. But go back to homework 4. What do we actually have to do for homework 4? So in this case, you can start out apparently with your homework 3 solution, or they've got a homework 4 Rotten Potatoes repository on GitHub. Let's quickly just go and have a look at that over there. I know my browser needs to be restarted, but it's just inconvenient. I need tabs. I need hundreds of tabs open all the time. GitHub being slow there. This time actually I was able to fork GitHub because I hadn't forked that one previously, and so I did fork as per their recommendation. I wasn't able to fork last time because I'd already forked once before and I wouldn't let me do it a second time. And anyway, yeah, to be honest, I didn't really use Git very much apart from just to get a clone. Is it gonna? So see here, we've got 1,509, not as many. That's homework 3. I think we had like over 2,000 down. Some numbers down now. People gradually falling out of the course, maybe. But so that's homework 4 Rotten Potatoes. So they've got an implementation of various stuff. And then personally, with this kind of thing, in order to save time, I mean, rather than using my own homework 3 solution, which might have some idiosyncrasies, I'd rather play it safe myself in this situation and take a copy of theirs. So anyway, you certainly shouldn't have any trouble forking that to create your own through your GitHub account. That shouldn't be a problem. And then once you have, you can go and get a copy of it. And I guess what I will start off doing, well, let's go see. I've already forked that. So if I go to me, I should find that there, and I could take another clone of it. So I'm going. It's interesting. I've had trouble with these. Let's make this a little bit bigger so we can see what's going on. I always use this. I always get clone on the SSH there. I'm not sure what this. I wish in some ways that GitHub was more like the one thing that I would prefer. That's a feature of Google Code. Is that they have like the full command that you need to use just in this place here in the front. That would be, I think, really handy. I'm getting, having used Git enough now. If we go back here, let's get out of. This was me doing the homework before. Let's go into my temp directory where I do practice ones for you guys. I'll have to make a homework 4 directory there. Go in there, right, and actually go into it. There we go. And then I can do git clone and Control-Shift-V, and so I can clone out there a copy of. So this is I've got a forked version of their code, which means that I could then push back into it, stuff, and each time I get a little bit of code working, I could push it up to there, and I'd have a backed up copy on the GitHub servers and so on, which would be handy. Yeah, so I've grabbed that. I've got that locally. Now, if we just go in there, what happened there? Return, yes. I'm using Sublime. It could be using the standard gedit thing. Let's open Sublime there. So now we've got. I mean, hopefully we're starting to get. I don't know how to make these. You probably you can open. This is the standard layout of the Rails app that hopefully you're gradually becoming familiar with. As usual, what I will say, even before you got to this point, I know I'm going to have my book stack is going to collapse. Really, the absolutely critical thing for success in this homework, as in some previous homeworks, is this book, with electronic version recommended, the Kindle. Chapter 6 is the book. Chapter 6 on test-driven development basically you really need to read through chapter 6, and you need to do all of the code examples in there, and you need to watch the screencasts, and you need to work through. And basically, they work through. You know, okay, do they work through that you've got? Yeah, here they work through doing test-driven development using R-Spec, which is really kind of almost the key. It's I guess it's a big half, if not more, of this homework 4. And so really you want to have done that before trying to dive into here. The other thing that you really are needing, and basically we've needed for the last, is it now the last 3 homeworks, is you know, just an overall understanding of Rails and the way that it lays out things in this app folder to controllers and views and models, and particularly really will be focused on the controller code here. We see here they've got you know, it all implemented there with the sorting and filtering that we had from before, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so that's your basic code, having grabbed that from there. If I can work out how to get back to Firefox over here, let's go back. So, you know, almost before you start doing this, I'd say just stop, go chapter 6, yeah, chapter 6, work through all the screencasts. You know, the screencasts take you along with doing some of this test-driven development. It's using the TM, what's it called? It's the movie database API call, which is actually also a very interesting example in terms of access to software as a service. I mean, that's you know, well worth looking through, even if you didn't need to do this homework. But so once you've gone and worked through chapter 6 and got that working, you can move on to here. And so what we're going to do in this homework is adding a director, or adding director information to Rotten Potatoes. So it starts off by asking you to create a migration. Just looking at my notes here on the different things I need to mention. Yeah, there's various things. I mean, this is so there's some of this description of this stuff is, you know, in case you might be working with your own version of Homework 3, if you've checked their version of Homework 4 out, then these gem file things telling us, you know, R-Spec, that's the testing tool we're going to be used, and other things to do with Cucumber, Capybara, that will all be there. So what you should be able to do, really, having checked that out, I mean, go and look at the gem file. Let's go and look at the gem file. He said, is this the one we were here? Yeah, so the gem file is here, and so we should see R-Spec Rails is in there. This is a link to a paste bin telling us that we want to have like this lot of stuff in there. So you should be able to go, I should make this one bigger, like so. If we do wide now, can I make that smaller? Oh no, it's scrolling off the screen. There we go. Oh no, and that's gone blank. Right, okay. So then Control Shift Paste, bundle install without production, and it may take a little bit longer for you. I think the first time I did it took a bit longer. I've done it several times now, so that hasn't taken too much time. Yeah, and then you need to do this series of commands which will generate the directories that we need for our behavior-driven development and our test-driven development. So, oops, I will do Control Shift Paste here. Oh no, Control A. What's that? I've got some strange things at the beginning. Oh no, I've left the R. Right. So, and I also know that I got this funny warning about Cucumber Rails required outside of m.rb. I got that all through the chapter 6 as well, and I found out some ways to remove it, and then that sort of did cause some problems later on. Basically, just it would seem fairly safe to ignore this warning for the moment. So don't worry about that. Don't try and play around with that. Would be my advice in terms of getting this homework working. Oh no, it might. I have trouble with this Microsoft mouse. Okay, let's get up here and go on to the next one. No, mouse, not. You're gonna. Okay. Okay, there we go. So then there's this training wheels thing that I think are just some of our basic bits and pieces for Cucumber. So remember, of course, and this is another thing to get straight here, is the difference in the Cucumber and the R-Spec. The Cucumber is very much Cucumber for behavior-driven development. The Cucumbers behave, also mnemonic. The Cucumbers, imagine that Cucumbers are all doing stuff, they're all behaving. That's the high-level stuff. It corresponds to the use case. The customer said, I need to be able to do this. You know, or one of the clients, stakeholders, has said they need to do it. As you run these various little things here, I have a different piece of paper for my mouse to work on. Will that somehow? Let's try this. That's really annoying. No, that's made it worse. That's made it worse. Stuck in the corner. go on with you, you silly thing. Let's put those under there. That's my phone bills. Is that better? Not really. Annoying. How annoying is that? Okay, come back here. Let's try this. It's like I have to hold it slightly off the table in order for it to work properly. There we go. And then R-Spec. So as we were saying, Cucumber is all the behavior-driven development stuff, and then R-Spec is. I actually haven't used R-Spec so much. I heard some nice things about it. Yeah, there's. I forget what was. I mean, JUnit is of course the famous unit testing system for Java, which I used for a long time. Still use occasionally. This. You know, it's in a slightly different form. There's a number of different ways of doing sort of the tests, but so the tests are kind of more like micro, sort of looking at really small bits of your code. It's something I've been looking for a long time in terms of being able to sort of put a clamp on either side and say, right, the code's going to run. You know, we're going to start running the code here, and I want to look exactly where things have got to. It's a bit like having a debugger view, but I think as Armando said in the lectures, you're kind of like specifying in advance what you want to see from the debugger and the checkpoints and the watches that you put on things. Anyway, so we've now done, as I've talked over. I'm sort of to the Firefox. There we go. So now, yes. So that's generated some files that some folders that we need. And in particular, if we go over to what you should now see is there's these two folders. We've got features and we've got spec. And so features, this is the Cucumber place. This is all the Cucumber stuff goes on. And spec here, this is where all of the R-Spec stuff goes on. So you've got behavior-driven development, test-driven development. And so there's a sort of a cycle here of sort of starting with your behaviors and then kind of going into your tests and then going back to your behaviors and so on. And well, we'll go through that in a minute. But so now, yes, double check that everything was installed by running the tasks, rake spec and rake Cucumber. So we go rake spec, like so, and so this will just check that that the necessary folders are in place. And yeah, okay, and then it reminds you. Oh, right, it says you have to do rake db migrate. We'll read the error message if you get one. There's run just in here, because sometimes the error message is like, right, so we've got to set the database up. We've just check this out. Remember, I've just cloned this. There's no database created. It's just rake db migrate like that, and then we should be able to run rake spec. It may insist on us doing. Do we have to do it? Force it into the test database as well? Or there we go. So at the moment so it should come up with this no examples matching. Yeah, that's good. And let's try rake Cucumber as well, like so. And you keep annoying this warning about Cucumber Rails being here, there, and everywhere. But let's go back to all that in the background. Yes, okay. And then we get on to some of the meat of the assignment. So Cucumber being slow. Yes. So there's no scenarios. Nothing there yet. So the key thing, so as we've seen here, this is all about, we're going to add some direct information to the rotten potatoes. So the model that we've got for movies only has, I believe, what is it, title, rating, release date, or something like that. So now, you imagine the scenario where your customer has come screaming and said, "Oh no, we must track the directors." There are people saying they really want to know the directors of movies, and so well, interestingly here that they're kind of providing these three Cucumber scenarios. That sort of the flow of this is just, well, we know we're going to need directors, so let's do that first. Of course, in the real world, you might well have would have been developing these features first. So anyway, you get this. For some reason, I find in Ubuntu I can't click that button that's supposed to copy and paste the things. I find actually here from, at least for this particular one, yeah, it is from Ubuntu that I have a problem with that. But let's copy that. And so the thing to do then is with this feature is go and take that and stick that here. So in your feature, you'll need a new file there. And so this is the kind of thing that you might have worked up with the customer. With these little 3x5 cards that we've been talking about previously. That they've said, well, we've got this big database and all the movies are in there, and we really need to be able to add the directors. I mean, this is sort of low level of behavior. I mean, to a certain extent, the customer will be talking to you and not caring necessarily about exactly how they update the director, but I guess up here we've got the feature level you know, as a movie buff, so that I can find movies with my favorite director, I want to include and search Sriracha. Can I make this bigger by doing this? Oh, go on. It's a bit small, isn't it? That says machine. View. View is often the... No, Sublime is not going to let me click on the view there. It's all going to freeze, is it? That would be really annoying. Should I... Let's go try one more time. That is moving. Let's go up here. Move a lot. Oh, mice is view... You're not going to quickly let me know that. Anyway, well, you've got access to this text as well, so we're not going to worry too much about it. I've been reading it out. So you can see, anyway, maybe the feature, this was more the thing that you developed, you know, with your stakeholder, and then, you know, in order to support those things, you know, you've written the scenarios which are more specific to the individual user interface elements and so on. But we've seen this before. Hopefully you're becoming reasonably familiar with Cucumber scenarios and features and so on. So we've got that in there. We need to, of course, we need to save that. So here it's like, it's search for movies by director. It's just taking, you can see it's automatically, at least for me in Sublime, it's taking the first line of the file automated as the thing. I'm going to sort of turn that into camel case. And then one thing here, little potential gotchas. This is not a Ruby file, remember, this is a feature file for Cucumber. So now that we've got that, let's go back to here. We've grabbed that from the paste bin. So, you know, in some ways, the flow of things would be, you know, from the broader analyzing the system, working with the customer. Okay, this is the thing that we need. Oh, right, that's the feature. We've written some scenarios to flesh that out in terms of how, you know, whatever the needs of the stakeholder are, they'd interact with the system, and then we'd say, right, well, our existing model maybe doesn't support that, so we need to have a director field on the movies table, as sort of object oriented integration database sort of thing. And so I've got a hint here about saying, you know, how to add the column of the. There's actually, you know, you can use. Excuse me. There's oh, what's it called? It's like you can generate migrations, and there's actually a single line that you can use just to migrate this all in one step. I mean, or you can create this migration file, which was covered in the edX lectures way back when, in the second week of edX, and so you can edit that by hand. It is actually very simple to do that. One of the things, I mean, I noticed with the edX course is that they're not using so much of the generate option, because partly that's, you know, doing all these magical things behind the scenes and maybe you don't see what's going on. That's actually a very powerful aspect of Rails, that I can, you know, see the motivation for doing everything step by step so you can see what's going on. But anyway, so that's for the first task that I'm not going to show you how to do, is to get that migration to work and then make sure your database is tested. Yeah, so you get these three. Skipping over that, you know, that was the, you know, first thing you get stuck on. Do get in touch. You get these three scenarios which they summarize here, and so we can in principle just run those. If I just get that saved there, and we go over here, we can start off by running. So this is our behavior driven development. We've got a behavior, it's specified. We can now type rate cucumber, and it'll be a bit slow. But it can go and grab those. We've got three scenarios there, and it'll go through, and we will probably see a lot of not implemented yet from all of that. One of the things in particular, so this is the sort of after you've done the migration, the next task is going to be to sort of flesh out your scenarios a little bit more. So there's things like, I mean, this should look quite familiar from last time, in that we did given the following movies exist from last time. So I don't think I'm giving too much away if I say, right, you know, we need to go to the previous homework and we need to grab that thing from there. I guess I'll just pause and get that up so I can show you a couple more steps on. If I can get back to the pause button. All right, hold on a second. Back in a moment. Welcome back. Yes, just continuing there. So I went off. I added in the movie steps RB file from last time, the following movies exist thing, little step. So this is, you know, when you've got your we did do this in the last homework, so hopefully this shouldn't be too confusing. But this is one of the first steps as we go through our behavior-driven development process is writing steps just to support the interpretation of the language in the scenario. So usually we wouldn't have to do this second time. We'd be building on that one that we used previously. I've added that in. I also did the I've done the migration, and I've migrated the database, and I've prepared the test database, and so that allows now this first remember if we go over to I ran this is the results of running Red Cucumber, as you can see up here. Just run that. If we go over to here, we can see this is basically now we're running the background to support all of our scenarios, and so that's gone green. And so that's good. So now one of the things is so now we start. We've got that's gone green. All right, we know that the test database is being prepared. Then we have this. We can continuing with just trying to get the Cucumber tests to run, and that involves some more things here. So basically, it doesn't know about the edit page for Alien yet. We also know that we're running all three scenarios at the same time. One of the things that we can do here, I think, well, this is actually a particular place where it's good to switch over from rake to bundle exec, like so, and then you can do this is one of the things I think absolutely essential. This is features, and what is it? It's a search there, and then we can one of the things we can do in Cucumber, and this is absolutely essential in these test things, is that in order to get your debug cycle small, is you want to be able to pinpoint individual tests and individual features. You still want I mean, this is what autotest will do for R-Spec, in that it'll notice that you changed a particular area. It'll only rerun those tests. You're constantly in behavior-driven development and test-driven development fighting against the trouble that as your project gets larger and it has more and more tests, if you run everything, almost inevitably the whole test cycle slows down, and then it becomes your debug loop between I've made a change, what happened. If that takes too long, then you just it slows down, and it's absolutely awful, I tell you. But anyway, so here I can pinpoint that by taking the line number of the scenario, slightly unintuitively perhaps, but I can say, right, line number 16. So there I'm saying bundle exec Cucumber features, search for movies or retro feature, and then line number 16. So I specified just that first feature there, which is first scenario there, which is being able to add a director to the existing movie. And there, so now that runs ever so slightly faster, and then, but given the point that we might be running this again and again and again and test it 20 times to get it just so, that saving of 3 seconds there, that adds up to is a minute, and as time goes on, it's really important to get your debug cycle as fast as possible. Anyway, so there we've got this issue with the edit page for Alien, and this we've also worked on before. I think the previous homework is setting up these paths. So again, here we're still at the level of doing things to support this behavior-driven testing. Now I'm just going to go and fix that and try and get us to a point where we need to switch over to the test-driven development mode, just to show you where that happens. Bear with me for a moment. Right then, here we are. Welcome back. It's now the same error. But so I won't show you going and doing this, but again here, this is really important. It's remember RASP, read the error message. Can't find mapping from edit page value to a path, and then you may run off and say, no, it doesn't work, I don't know what's going on, and oh no, panic. Read the next line, and it says, now go and add a mapping in, and it tells us exactly where to do it in paths.rb. So that should be familiar from last time. Going and looking at that file might help. Looking at the equivalent file in the homework 3 that you did previously should help. Chapter 5 on that this really, we're still at the stuff in chapter 5 from the textbook. There are some nuances here. You can in principle write this with an irregular expression so that it captures whatever so it would work for any title of a film rather than just Alien. But anyway, however, if you get that working, then you'll get this new thing. So now that will go green. So I've gone away and I've added the appropriate thing. You need to work out what that should be here, so that when the Cucumber is saying, I want to go to the edit page for Alien, that maps to an actual Rails thing. It's the right place. And so now it's saying, and I fill in director with Ridley Scott, And it's again, oh no, it's not there, run away, no, everybody panic, break things, ooh, party, no, or whatever. No, again, let's read it. So cannot fill in no text field, text area, or password field with ideal name or label director found in Capybara. So you may remember that Capybara is this, or Capybara, is this thing that it's sort of pretending to be the web browser, and it's going and looking at in this case, the edit page for Alien. A lot of the time with these things, you might be tempted to run Rails server and go and look at the individual pages, and that might be helpful. For me, I guess, having worked with Rails sufficiently, I can kind of, I know what an edit page in Alien looks like. I guess if do we want to run, well, let's go and do that just for a time. If I write Rails server here, assuming that I'm not running the server anywhere else, I don't know if it's going to have those films in my or any films in my database, or is it going to be around it? Well, anyway, let's go and have a look at. I was running. I think I was going to the online one. Oops. Here we go. Here's the local host. I don't know if this will work now. Let's go back here. Is this working? That's just a back thing. That's it. Boom, boom, boom. I did test database prepared. Will it have any? It does. It does. I've got this on repeat of the different things in here anyway. I'm not sure where it's getting this database from, but anyway. But so if we go to this is the details page. Remember, we've got the edit button. So the way that that we had it from the previous thing is that we've got this page that looks like this, right? It's got the title, it's got the rating, it's got the release date, and what's happening is that Capybara is, if I can find it again, going to that page and it's saying I cannot find a text field, text area, or password there with the label director, and not surprisingly, because there isn't one. So basically here, this is the behavior-driven development. Is saying we've specified that somebody wants to be able to go to this page and they want to be able to enter the director information for a film, and we're discovering that we can't. And it may be a bit confusing because it's sort of detached from seeing this actual interface. But what we want is to have something here. We need a text field here that allows us to enter the director. So this is you've got to go and fix that. Then finally, basically, there's going to be what's going to happen is then when you fix that template there, and again, remember, this actually it's still not, we're not doing test-driven development here. This is still behavior-driven development, and there doesn't really seem to be, at least officially, we can write tests for the models and the controllers. We don't usually write them so much for the templates. Anyway, at least the way I've done it, you can go on, you can sort of adjust the appropriate template. And this is the kind of place where knowing that, knowing how Rails works and knowing where the view, it's one thing to say, oh right, okay, so we've got the problem that's on this page, right? Where do we go in the Rails thing in order to work out which view to update? That's the kind of thing where, again, working through chapters 3, 4, and 5 from the book will help to a certain extent. This is, I'm not going to spell it out for you here, but it's the kind of thing that can be worked out with a little bit of effort. And again, you if you're really stumped on that, again, we've read an error message here. If there's someone sitting next to you who knows something about Rails, you ask them. If they're not, or you ask on Skype, which is our online classroom full of colleagues, and if you're not getting help there, then you search the forums, you search Stack Overflow, and if that's even that's not helping, then you end up starting to post and blog post and posting to the forums, posting to Stack Overflow, to sort this out. And again, if you're spinning your wheels for longer than 10 minutes, stop, write up, post, go and do other productive things, other fun things, whatever, and then come back to it. But so if for the purposes of illustration, so once you've adjusted the appropriate template so that the person could in principle fill in a text field director with the name Ridley Scott, then this one I think will work, because you'll see that the update movie info is there. That's a button that will work, and then this is now another kind of like movie step that you have to fill in. That's an undefined step there, and I think when it gets to the point that these ones are passed, it'll maybe tell you where to go. It probably won't do, just say undefined step. So this is another behavior-driven thing. It doesn't know what to do there. You have to go and in the same way that we did for given the following movies exist, is add things to movie steps so that it can go and check this and do an appropriate check on the, let's say, hypothetically, the model that the director has set correctly. So actually you can get through, as far as I can see, you can get through the entire first scenario merely by doing similar behavior-driven development stuff as we did last time. So that's, I think we'll take that as read for the moment. And I won't necessarily, let's shut down the server here. So you can do that, and the temptation there might be, as particularly I did the first time I went through this thing, is just carry on doing that, and you can complete the entire homework just by working in, making changes to the movie steps and the paths and so on, that allows the behavior-driven development, the behavior stuff, the Cucumber stuff, to check the scenarios work. Obviously, you'd have to make changes to the Rails thing, to templates, the controller work, and so on, potentially in the model, in order to make that pass as well. And that would then be, the homework would be almost like, very, very similar to some previous weeks. That's not the intention here. I mean, you can actually get a reasonable grade on the homework doing that, but part of the point of the homework is to write these controller specs, or potentially the model specs. And I want to particularly point out the point at which to do that. Excuse me. So let's, if we now look at well, no, you can be lulled into a full sense of security by, I managed to do all of this first one without writing any specs of anything. I mean, I guess you could be, you could be saying to yourself, I will drop out of the behavior-driven development mode here and do test-driven development to write a model spec on the directing of, the alien, or the movie's directors can be written and so on. It just seems like overkill there, particularly because if we look at the model, movie RB, we just, that's only testing existing active record stuff. I mean, we've really got none of our code that needs to be exercised and checked here, really. I mean, I guess this could be, but it certainly seems like overkill to me in terms of the balance. It's sensibly, at least from where I'm standing, the thing to do is, let's go back to features, search is get this one to work. Remind yourself of the Cucumber behavior and development. Do that, and it's now on this next scenario, so we can now pinpoint that scenario. If we go to line that starts on line 22, so this is now, I think it's the happy path, is that right? This is now, come back here, this is now the happy path where we do, we basically look for something that has the same director, and we do find some movies that are some other movies that have the same director. So if we now run that one, that's going to initially, so remember we're still here at the behavior driven development level. We're at the level, this is this overall feature, but this is a single scenario within it. So I think we were sort of assuming there that we have some movies with different directors, and obviously our little table there. And so I've already set it up. I'd filled in previously, had to work out what was the details page, and so then it's saying, like, when I follow find movies with the same director. And so, like, no, run a panic. No, it doesn't work. I don't know what it is, stuck, and I hate Rails. Oh no, all right, let's read. Oh, no link with title, ID, or text, find movies and director found. And that's usually, I think, interestingly here, this error message could probably be extended. No found, and it could say on the details page for Star Wars. But so again here, the details page for Star Wars. I guess if we, even without this, so can I get back to that? If I go back to if we look at the app itself, so the details page, yeah, we can just go back. It is this one about a movie, and at the moment we can see that that particular page doesn't have a link find movies with the same director, and so in this case we have to, again similar to the previous scenario, we have to modify the template to make sure that there is a link, and that when we click on that link, potentially something's going to happen that might actually go and show us some movies that have the same director. And then, we've got the other things like I want to be on the similar movies page, and I should see something and I should not see other things. And so then I think actually here we can go back maybe to this. Is that right? I've moved it off the screen. Let's bring it back over this way so we can see it. No, mouse, go on. There it is. Right. So that gets us to the point here. Actually, so this thing is, they've got 3 cucumber scenarios. It's described there. This was the first one, which is like, yeah, this one. They do say it doesn't require any new views or controller actions, but it does require modifying existing views, new step definition, possibly in the path. So that's accurate. The first scenario, can be got away with just sort of behavior-driven development stuff. Second scenario, here we'll have to do some more things. You'll need to add a root and a view controller method for find movies with the same director. So this is now like a more serious functionality that we're adding, and it's this point where you could let the behavior-driven stuff just keep driving you, but the recommendation is, okay, now we're doing new stuff. We're adding a new root. There's going to be a new controller method. This is where R-Spec should be brought in to kind of do a really precise testing of this new controller method. And so they've got they've got the example of the things. So you're going to have a RESTful root. You're going to have a new root for the similar movies. We're going to have a new controller method to handle that root, and a model method in the movie model to find movies director matches that current movie. Interestingly, that you could be writing your own method. There are some kind of built-in ones from Ruby from Active Record, that could work there. Yeah, I have to think, what else can I say here? Yeah, and so, well, I guess the important thing there is to then you're going to drop out, and then so the next step here is adding in this link, and then you've got that link, and that link's going to go somewhere. And so once you've got that green and it says, right, oh, I know how to, that link appears in that page, I'm going to click on it. You will have in the template said that's a link to something. Where's it going? It's going to go to some new controller, or movie controller probably, and what's it called? It's going to have some new action which corresponds to a method in the movies controller. And should we just go to the movies? Should we go to the movies controller just for clarity? Movies controller. So you're going to be adding some new method in here which handles that request. And the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to fail to find a path to that, and you're going to need to add the path to that. And then it pretty much it's a parallel with chapter 6. And the idea is that at that point, right now, you need to add the path, and you need to do that before you run autotest, because autotest won't automatically capture changes that you make to the paths. And this is not the path. I shouldn't be saying paths, because paths is the cucumber features. It changes that you make to the roots that Rails can handle. So once you've got that root added, then you can in principle be running autotest. Which is, hopefully that is there. Yeah, if you follow the instructions, I believe in chapter 6, you can get autotest set up to run, and that will speed up your cycle. I guess I'll just pause and maybe get that running so you can sort of see it going on in this context, just to emphasize that. Right, so I've just gone in and I've added that link in the appropriate template that's needed there. But so assuming that you've got that link there, and I've added some, it's going to try and hit some action in the Rails controller that doesn't exist yet, and so you're going to get this very long. When that happens, you're going to get this very long error here, and it's like, what's going on there? Actually, ideally, if your font size is smaller, it won't wrap so nastily as that. But so now we've got this. Given I'm on the details page for Star Wars, it's tried to do that click, and we're getting this error that no root matches. And this is, an example of I'm not saying this is the correct thing, but this is, an example of what you might do. This is now the point at which we want to go and say, right, we're going to put that root in, and then we could start running autotest. So I'll go and do that, and then just to show you, take this to the autotest. Okay, welcome back. So I've gone and added the appropriate root. I can rerun the Rails cucumber. But this, I guess, maybe this is a warning sign that it's time for you to be dropping down to the test-driven development level. If you're, repeatedly getting errors that relate to specifics, like you're adding a new root, and then you're adding a new method to your movies controller, and so on, and if you're kind of using your cucumber scenario to sort of debug little micro features as you add new stuff into to Rails, then it's sort of saying, well, you're maybe using too heavy. It's a bit of a sledgehammer tool. Let's go in and sort of make sure that we've got code doing what it's supposed to be doing down there before we back out to the behavior-driven level again. So what I've done here is I've dropped into my spec folder. So now we're saying R-Spec. I've made a controllers directory, I've cd'd into that, and I've created a movies controller spec.rb, and I'm not giving anything away, I think, in as much as this is all what we have to do in the what's called now, in chapter 6. And what I've actually done is I've grabbed, as I often do, I've got, remember, before you start trying to run Autodesk, this is probably going to fail nastily, let's see, but anyway, you need to make sure you drop down, back that down to the root directory. That was a mistake I made earlier. So then, now, because what I've done is I've dropped, if we go over here, because that's going to fail really nastily, but what I've done is this is actually the complete movies controller test from chapter 6. And that's going to fail nastily because of course the clone of their homework 4 hasn't got anything to do with this TMDB stuff in there. So now this is now Autotest running. It's 3 failures. It's doing all these different things, but this is in some ways. I mean, I guess in the ideal world you'd like understand R-Spec perfectly and you'd be able to like just start typing it out. I think it's so helpful to have an example, but that's partly why I'm saying work through chapter 6, because this is the thing that you really need. You need to do this movies controller thing. So, you know, and rather than, I mean, this is rather a complex template and you don't need all of it. If we just, for example, remove this bit, I'm not saying do that, I mean, you know, do one with it really, but so, for example, if we're, I don't know, searching for director, for, I don't know, what we've got, movies by director, and, you know, so, it's this, you know, again, chapter 6 should have helped you. I mean, they also went through this, I think, in the lectures. If you review chapter 6, this should cement all of this in your mind. But so the idea of R-Spec is basically creating these little tests here, but they're wrapped in these things that describe them, that say, right, you know, we're searching for movies by director, and when we search for movies by director, and again, this is sort of thinking about the code that you would want to have. So it should, what should it do? What should the code do when we're searching movies by director? I guess we're going to be saying we've got a movie and we need to know what the, you know, it should, you know, call the method on the model. It should call find, what should we call it? Find movies by director. I mean, that this is, you know, just notes for yourself really. And then, I mean, the key thing here is we're going to do something like we're going to call whatever our root's going to be. This is, you know, in here we're going to put in some action. You know, I'm going to put your action. Yeah, whatever you decided your action was going to be, and then you might putting in different things. Or I don't know, you might have an ID in there. You know, of a movie that you were hypothetically calling, and so on and so forth. And here this then comes down to, you know, now what should be happening? Well, what, you know, what this is where we start getting into the mocks and the stubs and the so on. Potentially we can return some fake results. All of this good, healthy business. And of course, as soon as I save this, oop, have I broken something? What did I do there? Did I lose an end thing? Let's just, I don't know what to lose that end thing. We save, and hopefully oh no, if it's not scrolled to the bottom of the screen, it doesn't do that. Yeah, so it's now, it has rerun there. Each time you save it, it's going to rerun automatically in the background, and you know, it's going to get, so now what we've done here is, to a certain extent, we've dropped out of the behavior-driven development thing. Where was have we got it? Did we have it? See, originally here, you know, with the root, rather than coping with this error in here at this level and having the overhead of all the cucumber running, I call my action similar. So I don't think that's giving any away. Which action you choose doesn't really matter. Oops, let's, oh goodness me, that's something else. That's other notes that we don't need right now. Where am I going? I want to go over here and say, yeah. So, you know, I called my action similar. That's not necessarily a fantastic choice. Don't necessarily follow that. That was just what occurred to me, didn't it? Now, see, if I save that in the background, Autotest is running, and it should now, because I've added the root before Autotest started running, it should at least be able to find that root. But right, so now we've got back to the, now, and you might see that the similarity, this was the error here that this is the kind of error that we got first up as we got to this point in the behavior driven, and then this was the second one. And so what we're doing now is we've now basically got a lighter weight test to test for the same thing, and you know, rather than just going off straight and implementing it, we're going to try and put a wrapper around here that says, and I could now go and say, all right, well, try and make this pass. I must make it pass. I'm gonna, you know, go and implement that method. Before I go and implement it, the whole point of test-driven development here is me saying, well, what will that method do? You know, you know, and try and set up some sort of harness here that will say, okay, maybe in that method I'm gonna call, I don't know, what here, like let's call it my exciting method. That's suitably not giving too much away. So we're expecting that we should call my exciting method with, oh, I don't know, my exciting parameter. It's all very, I'm not worried about that parameter. I can't even spell there. It doesn't matter. And return fake results. And you know, that's, you know, maybe going to allow our method to pass. We might want to. I now we're using should receive here rather than using a stub, and so we're expecting that to be called one. And so we can basically set up a specification to say exactly what we expect to happen in this method. You know, thinking about, you know, what we're coming in here and we're asking about movies by the same director. What should we be calling? What should you know? What should be happening? Let's make sure that happens, and that will, you know, continue to fail. I mean, we can of course go in. You know, it's a fairly simple thing to do here, and go into movies controller and go in and specify a new method, def similar. Oh, it's going to caps off. Excuse me, def similar and end like so, and then, you know, hopefully, again, you want to be scrolled down to the bottom, otherwise it doesn't automatically get it. You don't, you know, it sort of stays. I find in Ubuntu, if you've scrolled up a bit, it will stay there and it won't. It's thinking he's looking at that bit of the screen. Actually, in Autodesk, you know. So anyway, now here it's going to say missing template because we have no template associated with that. You know, other things we could be doing in here is making, you know, sorry, in here in the movies control specs is making sure, you know, asserting that it renders a certain template and this and the other, and making this that happens, and so on and so forth. So, but basically then, so the meat of this part that we're now in is, you know, starting with your movies controller spec, which I didn't save, and I can kick off Autodesk again, but is trying to get say what you want your method in the movies controller to do, and set that all up, you know, and that should be failing. It's sort of, you know, I mean, you could go and create a similar, I guess. I actually didn't do that way. There's all sorts of fun things, but I guess the simple thing here is to go in and declare a new file here, which if we just save as, no, that didn't, no, it has created a new file. Yes, and we want to save it as, let's call it, you know, by default, similar.html.haml. One way to do it, and then at least we should get this, rather than failing because it's missing some of the expectations that Rails has about what's going to be there, it'll fail because, yeah, right. So now this is my specification. I've said that you know, when we get into this similar method in the movies controller, that the movie object, that's the sort of class object, should receive this sort of static class method. It should be called with the method myExcitingObject, and then that, you know, with a parameter of this thing, and, you know, it's going to return these sort of stunt doubles, and that didn't happen. And so this is now the point where we're no longer, we've got away from, you know, all the Rails machinery, as it were, is in place to potentially serve something back up and, you know, into the interface. I mean, this is one of the most challenging things maybe to get around here is, you know, you might have grokked that, oh yes, you know, I kind of understood what was going on here when we were working in the interface, and we were sort of changing things in the interface, and then I refreshed this page, and so on was going on. Almost, you've got to kind of, like, to a certain extent, keep that going in your mind, and then be able to come back down to this level and be able to say, oh, okay, right, you know, I'm in my behavior-driven, I'm working through my behavior-driven thing. I'm saying these are the behaviors that we want of the hypothetical interface, and I'm gradually putting that together, and then to support that interface there's going to be some of these methods. And so sometimes I'm going to drop down to the test-driven development level where I can say, okay, here's my controller method that's going to be, you know, doing something with the model. It's going to be grabbing a view, putting them together to display a user interface, you know, a user interface to the user, and, you know, this is kind of a specification of what should be happening in this method. And so, you know, let's make sure that precisely that happens, and then, you know, we go and implement it, and we put some, you know, we put stuff in here, you know, implement my stuff that I just imagined as part of TDD, and then, you know, we save, of course, in this case, you know, I haven't implemented anything, so it's just going to fail. I mean, I guess I could implement that thing and show it passing. What, should we do that? Should we do that? Don't click in the wrong place. I could just like copy this, couldn't I? Over here. This ridiculous. Let's copy that. Don't click over there. Click here. Here we go. And go in there. So what we're expecting is for movie to be called, in this case, with that method, with this funny parameter. I can just leave off the parentheses there for a laugh. So if I now save that, even though I'm not doing anything sensible, I am doing what my movie controller spec has suggested that I should be doing. And so we will see it's green. There we go. And then, you know, of course, assuming that that had been a sensible step, then, you know, I'd move on. And there's other things that, you know, well, okay, so maybe it should call find the movie by director. There's also like, you know, the happy, you know, I think in the first instance, yeah, this will sort of cope, you know, make sure it renders the right template, makes sure whatever appears in the templates, and eventually we can then move back to getting our the rest of our behavior-driven tests to work. And then there's another behaviors in the cucumber scenario, which is about the SAD path, and that will, you know, again, we'll start getting that work in the behavior level, and then we'll drop back down here, and we might need to add more. I guess we call them specifications in here. Yeah, more specifications associated with the movie controller. And what this means, the big, you know, why are we doing all this crazy stuff? Is what it means is that one, that we sort of thought very carefully about our coding, which is a good thing in the first place, and it also means that we've got a way of, you know, automating and making sure that all of our all of these things can be checked in the future. You know, that if we do something in other places, potentially, you know, this is, you know, complexity that builds up and makes all these things problematic. If we change something else later on that breaks something here, there, everywhere, you know, all of the stuff that we've asked the code to do has got an associated test that says, you know, that is really checking it. Anyway, we'll come back to that, I guess, and hopefully you'll see the benefits of that in projects later in the course. In part 2 coming up. Woohoo! I guess so. The final things to say are, yeah. Well, I guess I should mention simple cov. So getting all of the features to pass is like 80% of the thing. That you then also have to show that you're properly doing cover. They've got this other kind of a little bit sneakily in the what's it called now? The homework. That when you go to the auto grader, it's going to check not just that your features are passing, but also that your specifications for your, particularly for your controllers, are exercising all of the code. And they do demonstrate in chapter 6 the simple cov thing. There's a little trick actually that you need to do to get that. I'm just going to go and get the little bit of code that you need there, so you don't get confused by that. And we're back here. Yeah, so this is demoed in. Are you not clicking for me? This is demoed in the chapter 6, but what you need to do is go into your spec helper and then add this, you know, as they show, this particular simple cov. The particular thing that's not in chapter 6 is it doesn't have this Rails thing here. That tripped me up. There are some discussion on the forums about adding this. That's where I found the solution. But so basically what this means now, oh, and it's going to break something terribly there. I think we have to add the simple cov gem. Yeah, I did get that error one time before. Let's just drop out of there. Sometimes when you kind of go and add stuff and you're in auto test, then that's, you know, you have to do lots of control C's there and drop out. We want to do bundle install -- without production, like so, and then we should be able to do rake R-Spec. And what will happen here? What's gone on here is, so simple cov is this tool that allows us to check the extent to which our tests, our specifications here, are exercising the code. So we run, hopefully this will work, run rake R-Spec like so. Oh, no, is it rake? Oh, now what did I do to run this before? Is it just rake spec? I get confused with these things here, and this takes a little too long. Oh, there we go, no, it's running, the movies controller space, found the spec, yes. Lots of warnings. So basically you just need to run the specs. Anytime now that you run the specs, whether it's an auto test or through running it directly, what will happen now is this simple cov thing will operate, and then you can, it should create a coverage directory. So we can cd into coverage there, and if we look in that, we've got an index.html, and in Ubuntu you can type Firefox index.html like so, and that will open this coverage report. Now I've written just a silly Mickey Mouse test there, but we can see here that basically what we get is a report about the extent to which the code that we have is exercised by that, and we can see that the movies controller there is not covered very well, only 23%. And as you write more and more movies controller spec, it will exercise more and more of the movies controller, and you can actually click on that and you can see, and it shows you in green. These are the lines. So we are hitting the similar method, and that's exercising there. Probably as a side effect, we're hitting the show and the index maybe. I'm not sure, but anyway, but you can see all of these red areas are things that we're not exercising with our R-Spec tests. And so in order to increase this movies controller percentage here, we need to wrap tests around those. And in fact, one of the things, in order to get completely 100% on this homework, you need to get this up to 90%, which means testing various different bits and pieces there. So anyway, that's, I don't know, I mean, and the key thing in the first instance is to go through the BDD, TDD cycle backwards and forwards, making progress. There's a lot of different moving parts here. It's, I think it's exciting to see the connection between, here's a feature, or here's something that the stakeholder might have asked for. We made a change to our data model. We went through supporting getting the features to be able to run in an automatic fashion. We dropped down and tested environment. We're doing good code practice to create good code at the lowest level. There's an exciting link. It's probably making your brain explode with all the different bits and pieces. We will iterate this going forward in the coming weeks and use this as part of a project. Even if you're not completely completing these homeworks, that's not so essential. I think the critical thing is to see all the different pieces in action, and even if you're not going to be a Rails developer in the future, again, the bottom line is to show this agile development process with, there's a diagram in the book, which maybe, can I get to that book? I think it is at the beginning of chapter 6. Let's have a look. If I just quickly go back here, boom, 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 boom. This was chapter 6. That's right. So that was all stuff that you should have worked through before you started. Here it is. Can I move this over so I can see, so we can all see it? Oh, that's annoying. There it is. It's now not big enough. Can I get rid of that thing? There it is. That's the thing that we want. There it is here, and right. So, this cycle. This is the agile development cycle. Talking to the customer, getting our user stories, behavior-driven design, test-driven development. That's where we are now. Then, as we'll see in the coming weeks, about measuring velocity, getting it out to the cloud. Again, talking to the customer, showing them those features. Did they like them? To adjust the user stories, and so on and so on. This fantastic cycle. Anyway, I will leave. This has gone right to an hour. What a help video it's been. I hope it will be of some help, and more coming up very soon. Hope you'll stick with it. I know this is challenging stuff. Again, the critical thing is just if you get stuck, not to spend 2, 3, 4 hours stuck on a thing. You want to read, ask, search, post, ask for help quickly and soon. What's one of the things that I do find, I'm relatively experienced with Rails, and I feel quite comfortable with this layout of the controllers and the views and them and so on. And it'll take time for you, those of you not so familiar with Rails, can't speed with that. I think what is challenging is it just with all this gems, the different bits and pieces. Sometimes there are just like random errors that fill the screen here, and you're kind of like, what's going on? And Rails, when it works well, it's all fantastic. Occasionally you get these things you get stuck on. The important thing is to be able to ask for help. Help soon. Anyway, don't burn time saying like, oh, I must be able to understand. I must melt it with my mind. Anyway. Alright, so good luck on homework 4. I want to go back over here and just finish up on the page of homework 4. Ultimately, yes, it talks about the what you need to do. Oh, there you go. They do actually say the right thing there. I think I had copied it from somewhere else. Had I copied that from, I think this is chapter 6, it didn't have that Rails thing in there. So that's, well, hopefully you won't run into that problem that I did. And then they link to the screencast there, which is good. And then finally you'll get to homework 4, and eventually you'll see, you'll get results, and you'll get something like this, and you'll be able to get 100%. Woo! And then that's it for this course, and they'll part 2 with even more exciting stuff in it. All right, I will stop talking and I will see you soon.